All right, we're live. We have a full house today, and it's going to get even fuller. This is the Nadi, and how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Well.
Good.
Good.
We have a very interesting topic coming up. A couple of guest hosts today. Our first one is actually one of our seminarians, Kevin Yono. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
No problem.
Let's all try not to scare him.
Yeah, welcome to the Chicana. I mean, the Nadi.
Thank you.
Omar put away the cards and all the gambling stuff today.
Yeah. And I forgot to buy the tikka and the kadi and stuff too.
That's it, yeah.
I don't even have chai. What kind of Nadi is this?
I know, man.
Well, I'm sure you've all heard this story a million times, but I was originally supposed to be the chai and mezza girl, but then they gave me a microphone.
I don't know.
So, yeah.
Maybe we should reevaluate that one.
But I have a following. I have a fan club.
Yeah, five people.
You know, my fan club broke up last night. The guy died.
Oh,
Sorry. I'm just messing.
Oh, God.
Just
no,
kidding.
that's
Just
not
kidding.
All right,
See,
so
we even
share
got some
it then.
jokesters on the show.
Guys, please share this. It's a very touchy and important topic that we're going to be talking about. And of course, we're waiting for another guest speaker who will be Rita Somo. She's on one of the committees over at Mother of God that works with the Michigan Right to Life. And she heads that pretty much. We'll be hearing from her when she gets here as well. We're going to talk about abortions today in the community. We're going to look at birth control, abortions, euthanasia. You know, what are the reasons that people get abortions and things like that. So we'll have some interesting perspectives coming up on the topic itself, especially since one of our seminarians is here.
Is it on?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's not.
Why? Is someone saying they can't hear it?
Okay.
So it's gonna be very interesting. I was reading something online. I don't know how current. Well, it was fairly current. It was about 4 years old. I just did a real quick Google search just out of curiosity, but and maybe Kevin, you know something about this, or maybe Stephanie did. It's I read that abortions have gone down since 2014 in the country.
Yes, I think I've heard that too. Just they've gone down slightly. I think
Slightly.
they're under 1 million now.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. So right now, I think it's about 1 in 5 women who are pregnant in the U.S. will have an abortion.
Wow.
So 20% of all pregnancies in our
That's a
country end in abortion. So it's not a small number. Sometimes we don't really think about that. Can you imagine if you saw 5 women lined up and they were pregnant and one of them was going to have an abortion? So it's not something that's just minor still, even though it's under 1 million people, but we're talking about almost 1 million people a year, million children being aborted.
Wow.
I have a question. Do we know why a lot of these women are having abortions? Is there really a way to find out, like, what is the reason that they are having the abortion?
I mean, there are many reasons. Some could be just a lot of youth are having sex outside of marriage. They weren't planning on having, very young, weren't planning on being pregnant. Could be financial reasons. Could be I want a career. Could be just their situation. They don't want to tell their parents.
I think the most
Yeah.
controversial reason is, sexual assault, molestation. I think that's where people are having the toughest time saying that they're pro-life is because of those situations. Oh, what if somebody gets raped? But from what I know of statistics is that's a very low number.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Statistically, is it more just women who want to terminate their pregnancy because it wasn't planned, or is it because rape?
The
That's a
percentage is
small-
I think is way less than 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people think it's so much higher, and that's usually the defense of anyone that's pro-choice is, oh, well, what if you got raped? What if you were abused? What if you were molested? Things like that. But it's actually not usually the case.
Yeah.
Do they have like demographics on the women who are having abortions? Is there? I mean, I'm just curious.
There are demographics. I don't have them all with me, but
Okay.
it could be, like I said, some of those reasons. A lot of people are taught as well that when they're pregnant, that the fetus is just tissue. Some people are not even taught like this is a life
Right.
forming and growing within you, as opposed to just, well, it's just tissue, just remove it. There's a lot of people who have no idea even that this is a life.
Yeah.
They really have been taught to believe that it's not even alive yet at certain stages. And so,
But if you went to one ultrasound,
Mhm.
you would know
yeah.
differently.
True. Ultrasounds make a huge difference in this case because there's statistics that are shown that almost, I don't know if it's 80 to 90%, somewhere around there, that if you show a woman an ultrasound, she will not have an abortion. It's like an 80 to 90% chance
And
if
that's
she
why
sees an
abortion clinics
ultrasound.
don't do ultrasounds.
Ultrasounds, yeah.
I mean, isn't it ridiculous that it's almost like denial to say that it's not alive? I mean, to say it's tissue? Come on, that's
Yeah.
that's like that's such a ridiculously profound statement to even make that assumption. It's like you're pregnant. What are you gonna have?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Tissue.
like tissue.
fully
Yeah,
formed
yeah.
tissue.
Yeah,
Fully formed tissue.
but that's what people are taught. You'd be surprised. Like when I was in high school, a lot of people didn't even believe that it was like the child was even alive until like I don't know how many months.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what people are taught a lot of times.
Yeah. I just feel like if you've ever had a baby or witnessed anyone that's having a baby, I just can't imagine you being in denial about that.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't even know if it's. I think maybe it's just a way for people to justify that in their mind that they're not doing that they're not ending a life.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it's just
I think-
justification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's really more what it is because you can't. I mean, people can't be that ignorant.
And it's amazing how many people are lined up to adopt that can't adopt.
Yeah.
It's the great paradox in life. You have so many people that are terminating pregnancies, and you have so many people that are dying to get a child somehow, some way, and they end up going to another country, to Russia, here, there. My cousin is a doctor in Chicago, and she and her husband couldn't have children. They're both doctors, and there was a lady in the delivery room, and she was going to give up the kid. She didn't want to have the kid. So my cousin said, sign her over to me right now. And she delivered. She took the kid. Now she's like 21 years old, 22 years old.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, she raised her as her own. There's no,
Yeah.
but it's a pretty incredible story that she's,
Yeah.
she's an anesthesiologist, and she happened to tell her that, hey, I'm,
I'm
giving up this
yeah,
child
yeah.
for adoption. She's like, okay, sign the papers now. I'll take her.
And the crazy thing about abortions too is that even though they're getting justified by saying that it's not a life, the rate of suicides, depression, even like right now, abortion is actually linked to PTSD. Like, I mean, all of these things are affecting these women that are having these abortions. So sometimes it's not only ending that one life, it's even ending a second life because these women are not productive people of society at that point anymore. A lot of them suffer from extreme depression. Their suicide rates for people who have had abortions is super high. So it's not just affecting that one baby.
And yeah, you're right. There's a lot of, well, I mean, if you have a conscience at all, there's a lot of guilt involved.
Absolutely.
And plus, I think there's, I think one of the most untrue statements in life is time heals all wounds. I think sometimes time makes things worse,
Yeah.
and it really does. And me, Omar, we've had this talk before, you know. And I think if they're at a young age and they do something like that, and then they feel the guilt after, I think it kind of haunts them.
Well, and plus people are going to these like abortion clinics that don't necessarily have the right, tools, the right doctors, the right, medical, equipment to handle anything that goes wrong. And a lot of women become sterile after that.
Really?
And can't have children.
Yep.
I used to be the director of a high school girls retreat, and we'd have someone come in and talk to the girls about abortion. And she said herself that she had an abortion when she was 17 or 18. She was not able to have a child for, I don't even know how long, 10 or 12 years. She tried everything. I mean, everything. And it was so difficult because of the damage that the doctor had done when they did her abortion.
We have a Deacon Asaki commented, excellent pro-life show. I agree when the egregious. What I don't know. I'm not sorry.
Egregious.
Egregious crime of rape happens. The child should
Make
not
sure
get
it's
the death
Eddie
penalty.
Gorgees. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, should not get the death penalty for the father's crime. So that's an interesting way of looking. I never looked at
Yeah.
it that way. That's something that nobody ever mentioned.
All right, guys, let's call it for how it's what's going on here. All right, this is a big liberal agenda, key thing in their politics. You have to believe in abortions. Tom Perez, the Democratic Party leader, said you cannot be a Democrat unless you are pro-choice. Hillary Clinton was, for the last trimester abortion, live birth abortion. I mean, there's just so much stuff. Planned Parenthood was caught selling baby parts.
Wow.
They are the number one traffickers of abortion. And when they say, "Oh, Planned Parenthood, they do stuff for women," you know what? That's BS.
Go to your
You could go to
OBGYN.
any doctor and get a pap smear. You could go to any gynecologist you want. It doesn't have to be Planned Parenthood. You have Medicare, Medicaid, whatever you have. You to change the minds of these children, because that's how young that they're getting exposed to this kind of crap, from cartoons to the YouTube to whatever kind of school they're
What
even
about Cardi
teaching
B?
anal sex in some
my God,
schools.
stop. It's-
They're teaching to be safe, how to practice safe. This is just getting out of hand. This is the devil
He's right, though.
creeping
Are they
back
really doing
in
that?
He's right about that.
back
Are they in
into the world, and thank God for Trump, because he's changing all of that around. Okay,
Okay,
if that lady was president,
Okay,
you know what would have
okay,
happened?
let's
It would have
see.
been horrible.
Okay, now
See,
you're going off.
yeah,
We'll
let's-
talk about Trump later on in a second.
Yeah, don't
Sure.
worry about that. Yeah.
For right now, let's focus. But everything else he said, definitely, it's a lot of it's true. Unfortunately.
Hey, Omar, I didn't even think about something. The Addams family was way ahead of its time. Because remember, they had Cousin It?
Yeah, seriously.
They were in the Society of Non-Genders. They had Cousin It, man. That was groundbreaking.
That's funny.
Yeah, something needs to be done. Their kids are out of hand. These parents need to be acting like parents and not taking selfies every damn 10 minutes on their phone and teaching their kids the wrong thing. This is horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel it's not just that. It's just
I can go.
sexuality is just broken in general today.
Very good.
The families being attacked. The more we continue to not reveal who we are in God as children of God, our identity in Him, the more we abuse our bodies. We don't use our bodies the way they should be used, and the fallout is obviously going to be abortion. When all the youth are just using their bodies as objects, and the youth are not realizing their identity, who they are, how sex is a sacred act, and how the gift of life comes through that, and how precious life is to God. And obviously, if this is outside of marriage, but even within marriage, there are people who, at an older age, they get pregnant and they're contemplating, well, what am I going to do with this child? It's just we've lost the value and the gift that comes through sexual relations, even within marriage at times, the value of life, and we don't see it.
Well, there's
Clearly.
also the big problem of the people are being fed mixed signals.
Mhm.
You have the objectification of women in Hollywood, a major objectification. But then on the same token, they're saying Me Too and this and that and everything.
Me Too.
There's such a paradox: the objectification, and then the next minute, like they were showing like a preview of the Emmys the other day. There was a lady with complete see-through dress from top to bottom. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
There's it. I think this causes a lot of confusion in the youth.
Yeah.
How are they absorbing these things? They're looking at one directive. They're trying to act holier than thou in Hollywood, and then the next minute they're half naked on TV. So how do you break this down to a young person to try and explain to them what's right and what's wrong when they're getting fed mixed signals?
Yeah. Hi, Rita.
Okay, we were just joined by our next other guest co-host, who is Rita Somo. Rita is the head of the committee at Mother of God, which is what's the committee, Rita?
Which one?
The one
That you
that works.
belong
The
with.
one that works with the Michigan Right to Life.
Oh, it's not with the Mother of God. It's just with Right to Life of Michigan.
Okay,
So
it's
they
like a
started a
Chaldean
whole new
branch.
chapter for the Chaldean Leadership Committee. So
Oh,
we're bringing
gotcha.
education and awareness to the Chaldeans
Okay.
because it's become such a prominent issue.
Okay, and you're pretty much the the head of that chapter?
I'm the chair of the chapter.
Gotcha. And what is the
committee,
chapter?
I
What
should
is
say.
the what does Right to Life do? What does it entail? What is their mission?
So the mission is basically to educate all humanity about life, the dignity of life, to save lives, whether it's at the point of conception to the end of life, whether you're, elderly, so going into like euthanasia. So I know it started like way before, because there was like a pro-abortion.
Euthanasia, you're saying like Dr. Kevorkian type stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, not like youth in Asia, like kids in Asia.
No,
but
no,
like,
I know that. Euthanasia is like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
But
just
what
for
are we
others.
talking about? Is it different? Is it abortion? Is it like?
No, it's basically
No.
ending your life because either you're too sick or
so
you're too
Kevorkian.
old. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, but that's illegal anyway, isn't it?
No, it's
Some
actually
states
legal.
it's not.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
So I was
So it's
telling
assisted
earlier
suicide.
that I was reading something, and maybe you could verify this. Abortions, I was reading something real quick today that since 2014, they've slightly diminished, maybe by like 2% or so. Is that the case, or what are the numbers?
No, it's actually still growing. It just depends on like which state you're talking about. So like Michigan has become more pro-life. But yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it's like 200,000 abortions a day.
It doesn't help either when there are so many people. How many people go to the March for Life in Washington D.C.?
Oh, there's a lot of people.
How many? 700, 800,000, million? How many people show up to that?
I think it's at least a few hundred thousand.
Okay, so let's say a
Yeah.
few hundred
I don't
thousand.
know if it's
Yeah.
The
that
media
many.
gives it zero attention. They act like it does not exist. But if 5 people go to the White House to march for gun control, they zoom in with the
there's
camera and make it
also
look like
actually
this.
a march for pro-choice or end of life, I would say. I think it's either the week before or the week after, and that gets actually.
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of
that's I'm saying the
publicity.
media zooms in. If there's 100 people,
Yeah.
they try and make it like there's a million, and when all these people show up for pro-life, they try and they just ignore it, so people don't see what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Today, actually, I mean not today, but this last walk for life, we actually had President Trump actually speak, and yeah, so that was, I believe, the first time a president has ever spoken.
Amazing.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And last
That was
year-
very amazing. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Last year
I'm
was
really glad that
Biden,
you brought
so
that
that was
up.
also pretty amazing too. So they were completely the whole message was them being all for life.
Pence right now.
What did I say?
You said Biden.
Mike
Oh,
Pence.
Mike
No,
Pence.
I'm
Rita,
like,
you gotta go.
Biden,
Get
creepy
her out of
little
here.
Joe.
Get her outta here.
The last person speaking, but no, Mike
Fired.
Pence, yeah.
Oh, my next
Oh,
guest.
She's outta here.
I'm so happy right now.
How about how about in our community? Is it
Creepy
do,
Joe.
do we know? Do we know if
Last guy.
it's increased, decreased? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we don't keep statistics, but probably the priest, might have an idea. But I mean,
I doubt
anybody
it.
want to speculate?
What's that?
We don't have numbers because we can't calculate those results yet. We're not in that system. But I mean, as far as what we see, there are a lot more people that are having abortions.
Also,
In
I
our
was telling
community?
you
In our
guys-
community.
I
Oh,
was
yeah.
telling you guys about the guest speaker that we have on the retreat, and she says that of all the Chaldeans that she tries to counsel out of an abortion, she would say close to 100% go through with it. Whereas an American girl who comes in can sometimes change her mind, especially after an ultrasound. Like we said, all those things. They also offer them like supplies if they're financially terminating, things like that. She said almost 100% of Chaldeans will go through.
Is
with
it usually
Yeah.
girls, unwed
Yes.
girls? Okay. I was
There's
gonna
also
say.
a lot of married.
Yeah, but there are still, yeah.
But
absolutely.
I could
Because
I
they
could
didn't
see
want
where
to
you
have
could
another
yeah.
child.
I could see where you could possibly talk a married woman out
Yeah,
of
possibly.
right, but I'm saying an unwed Chaldean girl is going to be pretty difficult to
Yeah,
talk
but that's
out
also
of
the
an
problem in
abortion.
our community because what's more important? Is it your reputation or is it life?
Yeah, exactly.
Omar, what's the phrase?
That's
Mabdamri Nashe.
Exactly.
Yeah, but who?
Well, that's why I'm saying.
And
that's,
a lot of
yeah.
times, from my experience talking with girls, they don't want the abortion. So a
It's
lot,
their-
like
it's
I know we
probably,
say
yeah,
like pro-choice.
parents,
That's really
whatever.
not their choice. It's because they're forced to have it.
Yeah.
It's out of
And there's
fear,
actually
right?
like a law, yeah, that I can't remember what it's called, but it's like when somebody forces you Gosh, I should look it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad when obviously we should be rejoicing, even if someone is pregnant outside of wedlock, and it's going to be hard and difficult, but it's still life within you, and we are called to rejoice that there's life within you. If anything good came out of having sex outside of marriage, I would say, well, life is within you. It's not something to where we are going to attack that person for being pregnant. Obviously, it's not going to be easy, but we're not called to make that person feel like they're this evil person for being pregnant outside of marriage. You know,
And if it is really that important to like maintain your reputation, give it up for adoption. You know,
I'll take it.
I guarantee you right now, we can find a Chaldean family or an American family that will hide you away for 9 months if you
I
want to
always
give
say
that
I'll
baby.
take you in.
Wait.
I'll-
Steve just said he'll
move you
adopt.
away.
Absolutely.
Please do not send him any women because he'll never get to leave the house.
How's
I
that?
mean,
How's
to
that
adopt, you have
village
to go
coming
through a whole
along?
process, and they have to count you as like.
I'll take the stork on the
Steve,
porch.
how's that village coming along in your
Good.
basement?
Good.
Good. Good. Glad to
Is it a
hear.
village or a dungeon?
He's talking.
So
Well,
what are some of the reasons that people, that the women might get abortions besides like the fear? I mean, fear is kind of general, so and we know that what are people going to say, but what are like some more specific reasons that it might happen?
just being, let's say, like Rita was saying, in marriage, like maybe you're a little older and you have 3 kids already and you're thinking, well, what am I going to do with a 4th child? And just thinking like, I don't have time for this. All my kids are grown, and they
Do you
start
th-
contemplating.
So, but do you think that does happen in our
Yeah.
Oh,
community?
absolutely.
It does,
Yeah.
really?
It absolutely does, and I've seen it.
Yeah, that really surprises me. The whole unwed, younger people wouldn't surprise me because my demni not or.
You'd
my
actually be
Sudaf-
surprised
thank you,
by
my
how
Sudaf
many
is
married
terrible.
women that are Chaldean do get an abortion.
Yeah.
Would
It's
you
growing in
consider?
numbers, and I think
Would you
it's
consider
because-
after the day after sex pill
Yes, it's
abortion
actually
too?
an abortion. That's
Yeah,
an
me
aborted
too.
person,
So
yes.
yeah, no. So then
there's-
there's abortions happening every
Yeah.
day.
And you know, it was before actually. You brought that up. So the day after pill was a prescription. Now it's called Plan B.
Yeah.
And it's not a prescription. You can
No,
just get it
yeah.
off the counter. You
Yep.
can order it online. You can do whatever you
Mhm.
want. So it's just become so easily accessible.
And it's
And,
not only
you know,
not only
they-
bad, but it's very unhealthy.
It is, but
Horrible.
they've also dehumanized it. So I mean, you
Yeah.
have to take a look at it. That
Thank
way.
you, Democrats. Thank you.
Oh.
Rita brought something to my attention. We were discussing this when she suggested doing this on the show. Something to my attention, which I was, of course, since I'm kind of in the boat, I was pretty disgusted by. But she brought up the issue that abortions take place because they find out the child is disabled or going to be disabled.
Yeah, we actually have a lot in our community who do that. So, I mean, they may be born with a disability. They don't even know that.
Yeah, there's
and
no.
they end
yeah,
up
you
getting
don't-
and they end
Yeah.
up getting an abortion because there's also I guess like the reputation of how you look in front of others, because you want to have this family that you come from good genes and nothing bad can come out of you. And even those families who do have somebody who has like a disability or special needs, sometimes they keep hush hush about it because they're afraid of what the community will say about them.
But I will say overall, our community has gotten way better about that kind of stuff. I think there's much more inclusion
I think
now.
it depends on where you go and who you see.
Maybe it is. It
I
seems like
agree.
I think we've got a long way to go still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
of course
I
we do. But
absolutely
if
agree
you,
with that.
but if you look at the way how far it's come compared to the way it used to be,
Oh well.
I mean, it's amazing that we've made some strides
So-
for inclusion and even.
Could you give some examples?
I mean, just like that, the program Breaking Barriers, that was never available, or people didn't talk about it. They didn't want to sign up their children to be known to be disabled.
Right, but if you look at the numbers of people who go to Breaking Barriers, which I think is a beautiful thing, because I
It is.
volunteered for that as well, but I mean, there could be so
It's
many
still-
more.
Of course, absolutely. Oh, for sure.
There could be so many more, and there could be so many volunteers to go help for those types of events.
Yep.
And a lot of times you see that they're struggling to basically get volunteers to go help,
A lot of this issue is still taboo as far as being disabled and and not even taboo, but you know, if it's not taboo, you're gonna get treated like a second-rate citizen by a lot of other people.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it
I don't
comes
think
from,
so, Omar. I think that's really old school what you're saying, man. I
No,
think when we were
no,
growing up compared to
no,
now, I don't.
No, no,
I
no,
don't
no.
agree.
In comparison, yes, it's better, but it's not gone.
It's not gone.
It'll
It's
never be
still
gone.
Far from gone.
Yeah.
It's far from gone, but we've made some great strides. I mean, I see so much more inclusion. I don't see, you know, it used to be like
Mark, where are you hanging out? I want to hang
I
out.
know.
I don't
wanna go
know,
there
man.
too.
Maybe I'm just because I don't know, man. I just don't see it as much as you guys
That
do.
you want to know why? Because you're not that kind of person. Because that's not who you are. But you'd be surprised if you listened and you had conversations with people, if they're really honest about how they feel. We've got a long way to go.
And can I also ask, are you surrounded by people who have a disability or, you know, have
Well, I
special
guess-
needs? Because that's also
I
another
think a lot
point.
of it too. Well, I mean, I guess I work with the D-Man Foundation with Ziad Kasaba's group, and I guess I just never
they're
think about
amazing.
it because we're all work together. We put music together. It's just an amazing group of people.
Yeah, but they're not in the community though, Mark.
No, but even in
Yeah, I
our
was gonna
community,
say
like
it's-
going to like mass at Mother of God on Saturdays, they have a mass, the special mass with people with special needs, and I love it. That's the mass I go to, and
Yeah,
I'm
but do you
so
know how many
happy-
families I say, you know, that they have this mass for special needs? They're like, excuse me, why would we go there?
Yeah, I mean, you're
Come
never
on-
going to make
come on,
100% of
Why
the
would we
people
show our
happy, but I
face?
think overall the strides compared to when I was a kid and what people did to hide things is, I mean, again, we've always got a long way to
Yeah.
go because
You're
we're
right.
old school
Maybe
community.
there's small improvements, but they should be much larger.
Yeah.
Especially
Yes.
with the type of, you know, community that we live in. We have
Yep.
so many resources. I mean, we've advanced in so many ways, but sometimes our mind has really not advanced at all. And I'd say this coming from, you know, a family where I have cousins who do have special needs. You know, they do have a disability. And I hear people tell me all the time, you know, don't you think it would be better if like they passed away instead of having to deal with that? You know, like as if that's something that's so much better. And it's like sometimes I think you need to, which is a whole different topic of how you define suffering, because suffering in itself is a very beautiful thing. But, you know, in our community and in today's society, I don't ever want it to be inconvenienced. And I think that's a lot of times where abortion stems from. It's an inconvenience because it doesn't fit into my life. We've become so selfish that, you know, we don't care about others.
It's just really sad. I mean, the value of a human life is obviously so much more than if you have a disability. Like, the value of your life is not based on whether you're fully functioning. I mean, you have the dignity of a human person. You're made in the image of God. It's like, and if anything, you're more pure than anyone else.
I
When
always say that, yeah.
you're
Yeah.
more pure. It's like you have the Eucharist in your home when you have a disabled person, because it's it's like almost like having an angel in your house.
Yeah,
And they're
when
so
I
full of love.
when I went to Catholic Central, I remember
Yeah.
Father Solwicki used to do a lot with special needs, and he said the greatest thing about them, they don't care if you got a Rolex watch, they don't care what kind of guy, they're pure love all the time.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
pure love all the time, and I think when you're talking about the convenience factor, I think a lot of that has to do also with the fact that in the United States everything is at 1,000 miles an hour, and you don't. It's so. Again, I'm just saying that mindset I believe that people have of that you're talking about here. They probably look at like the financial strain. I'm not saying this is correct, but I'm saying what they're looking at as the financial strain. How am I going to stay home from work? I don't want to put my kid in a home. I want to just this country is very difficult to exist, you know, to be able to put things together and keep everything together.
I think also some families, they're worried about, okay, when I'm gone, who's going to take care of? I mean, my brother has some disabilities, and let me tell you guys, he knows the whole Chaldean Mass by heart. He's at St. George. If he could live there, he would. Our family fights have been because he wanted to watch the Catholic channel while I wanted to watch regular TV, or which church we're going to on Sunday because I wanted to go to English Mass and he wanted to go to Mar Day. Like, that's the kind of things, like, and that's who he is. And yeah, he has some disabilities, and I think that a common, you know, fear, my mom tells me all the time, you know, like, what happens when we're gone? What's going to happen to him? You know, I think that's, and luckily I'm around, but what if that's your only child? You know, obviously my husband and I, we discussed that before we even got married, that something happens to my parents, we have, you know, the responsibility of my brother.
But I think that's where you give into God, and you know,
Absolutely.
you absolutely have to believe and truly, you know, realize that God will provide.
Absolutely. And
So
that's
sometimes
the thing
we
too,
just
like,
give into fear.
when it comes to disabilities and stuff, also, I mean, when I was pregnant, they give you the option of getting genetic testing. Sometimes I look at that and I'm like, why are we even getting genetic testing if the end result is the same for us?
Yeah.
You know, so like if I am never going to terminate my pregnancy, what difference is that genetic testing going to do for me?
Maybe to
You know.
prepare.
So what do you tell
But you
somebody?
can't do
You
that because it's a
can't.
possibility. That means you have a gene. It
can't,
doesn't
yeah.
necessarily mean you're going to have that disability.
Yeah.
So you can prepare all
That's
you
not-
want. You're going to make your house.
How do you really? But how do you even really prepare for something?
can't.
Like
You
that?
don't.
You can't.
And
You
me-
can't.
mentally.
Absolutely not.
No,
mentally.
No.
I mean, you can mentally prepare yourself
But you know what, if
when you
someone
have a
tells
child,
you-
it might have a disability.
But guess
and I'm
what?
prepared to
When that
handle it.
doctor tells you that your child
Faithfully
has a gene that
prepare.
might possibly
Pray,
be
start
something,
praying. I don't know.
absolutely.
Let me tell you.
But that can also cause you a lot of stress, and if it causes you
Yeah.
stress, that can also put stress on your baby while you're pregnant.
All day.
So I mean, really,
Yeah,
it's a
you're
good
better
point.
off. Yeah. You're about not knowing.
I will say, in my business, I employ a lot of people that are special needs. Not because I don't take any of the tax breaks they offer and all that stuff. Just because I want to employ them. They are the best, most loyal.
It's hard work.
Oh, they're amazing to watch work. They always got a great attitude. They come in with their chest and their shoulders up because they're so proud to be working at the business, and it's a great thing to see. They really are. We can all stand to learn a lot from them.
So what do you tell a rape victim
Yeah.
or somebody who's been sexually molested, and who's thinking about doing the abortion or considering that? What do you tell them?
Well, first, you always, obviously, this is not going to be easy. It's not something that if someone comes to you in that situation, it's not something that they have to carry on their own. You have to be supportive and do your best to show them the love of Christ, but to ultimately show them that is Jesus within you. That is a life, innocent life, totally, and it's still a life. The circumstances that happened that this child was conceived through were obviously horrible, but it doesn't change, even if it was out of not consensual sex or consensual or marriage, it doesn't change the fact that it's a life, right? And I'm not saying that this situation is going to be easy. You might need a lot of counseling, love, support, family love. You're going to need a lot. You're going to go through a lot. It's not going to be simple, but it's ultimately, in the end, it always will turn out to be fruitful and joyful, and you'll be more at peace, I believe, truly, than having an abortion. Because sometimes we just think an abortion is it's not gonna take the rape away, right? You having the abortion is not gonna take away that horrible thing that was done to you, and that's not the way to find healing. Sometimes we think we can just bury something or just make it go away, just, get the Band-Aid, but that's not, that ultimately can make it worse. The abortion might make it worse.
Traumatized twice now.
Yeah.
Because then again, you're having that
You're
abortion
treating
because-
trauma with trauma.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because most people don't want to have that abortion, but because they were a victim of this, then they get it. And again, you're giving more power to that rape in
So-
general.
I mean, I've spoken to a lot of rape victims too, and the first time that, if they were raped, it was somebody else telling them that you should get an abortion. They never actually said it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like they put these thoughts in their minds to get the abortion when that never even came out of their mouth. That's not even what they were thinking of, because they couldn't even deal with that. And a lot of times they find that as like a sense of like it's a gift, hope, through such a hard time that they have to go through.
It's so hard. I mean,
I
it's so
mean,
hard
it
to
is
even
it's-
fathom what that person is going through, and it's like
Especially the aftermath. I mean, because you have to, when you look at this child or when you
Yeah.
talk,
yeah.
Yeah, that's just
this
it,
is
yeah.
this is the child that my brother made with me as
Right.
a result of incest. This
Right,
is the
if it-
child
yeah.
that was a result of me being raped.
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah.
it's definitely a tough.
Yeah, but when you look
cross.
at a child like that, I mean, do you really look at a child and identify them by that person? Or, I mean, I know when I look at a child, I just look at innocence.
I can't.
I know.
I can't speak on
yeah.
this
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this
I
is so
can't.
intense
Well,
that
let's
I mean,
think,
if
to
you
me-
look at somebody who is the actual rapist, and if they have a child, are you going to look at that child and say you're a rapist too?
No,
I
I
mean,
don't
how
think
would you
it's
look
so
at
much.
that child?
It's not so much looking at the child and going, "You're a rapist," but that child is there. It was unwanted to begin with. Obviously, it's not. It wasn't planned, and so you're
Right.
going to look at the. And let's say you are a, 13, 14-year-old girl who's being molested by a relative, and I mean, how does a child deal with having a baby, having a child themselves, as a reminder of this is the person. I mean, this.
Well, they don't have
this
to
is a
keep the child.
product
They
of-
can always adopt the child. But there's also, I mean, if you take a look at abortions, there's so many different, health, psychological, mental issues that come with it,
That's what we were
emotional.
talking
Like,
about earlier.
there's a lot more that come with that type of trauma than having the actual child.
Yeah, because
And
we're-
it goes for years.
Yeah, and we're trying to say like having the abortion is going to be worse on the body than having a pregnancy and delivering a baby. Like, what is the abortion going to do to this 13, 14-year-old girl? It could completely destroy her it could completely destroy her. And obviously, I'm not saying a pregnancy is going to be easy, but the last thing this child needs is the abortion. Sometimes we think is going to make it better, but it's not a quick fix. You can't just fix the situation. Ultimately, even if the child's unwanted by us, it's wanted by God, right? Because it's still alive. God's never going to, it came in this means, but it's still a life and precious before God. It's not something that came to existence on its own. God uses humanity as a vehicle to bring forth life, but it's still priceless in front of God. The life is priceless. If that child was the only child on earth, Jesus would still die for that child on the cross. Like, if it was the only person. So in the eyes of God, that child, even if it was conceived in that way, is utterly precious, and it's priceless. So
Yeah,
Did
I
you
don't
read
think
Mark's
any of
comment?
I don't think. Who? I'm sorry.
Did
who?
you read Mark's comment?
Mark.
21AA, Mark 21AA?
No, what did he say?
He said, why would you want a rapist gene into the world? Mark,
Why would you want what?
a rapist's gene into the world?
Well, okay, from a woman's perspective, okay, to me, honestly, I don't think that I could go through. Thank God, I'll never have to worry about this. But if I was raped, and I was and became pregnant from that rape, I could not see myself keeping that child. That's just me, because I would feel like it's a reminder of.
I think I'm you know what? I'm
Then to have
for
that
the three-
child,
the
and then you
three
give them up for adoption,
situations.
No, it's
and then you
three.
give that, or even if you give up that,
Incest
most
or
of the people,
molestation.
I know quite a
Rape.
few people.
And
Mark-
what was the other one?
Steve, can I just finish real quick? If you give up that child for adoption, let's just say you carry it full term and you give it up for adoption, most children who are adopted ultimately do go look for their parents. I know
And
I know
medical.
quite a few.
That's the third.
I know quite a few people who have been adopted, and ultimately they always want to know who their mother was. Okay, so that child grows up and comes to you and says, "I found out you're my mom. Why'd you give me up? I was
I
raped."
didn't want to kill you.
Okay, well,
I'm for the three.
even still, I don't. I just
Yeah,
for
you're right.
me
That kid,
personally,
when they tell her that, well, I was a victim of rape, you're the result.
I
That
mean,
person might be even more traumatized that he found his birth parent. You know?
not only that, then you're like, okay, here's this kid, and well, at this point, could be an adult, whatever. I don't know. I don't know that I could deal. Me personally, I mean,
Yeah.
thank God I'll never be in that situation, but
yeah, obviously without the love and support of other people and you being guided the right
tough.
way, you wouldn't be able to do it by yourself. And you shouldn't do it by yourself, right? That's the whole point of, like, whenever someone's going through an unwanted pregnancy or anything, it's not something that you do on your own. And even if a child grew up and found out they were a product of rape, well, what do you tell that person? You're evil, you're disgusting?
No.
Absolutely not.
No,
Does your
of
life
course
not
not.
have value? Of
No,
course it does.
absolutely not.
And
I mean,
so
it's not-
should
it's
we
not that
terminate those
child's fault.
lives?
No,
And,
no,
you
you're
know,
not. You don't have to say anything. The
Yeah.
person is going to feel that way when they find out how they were conceived.
Yeah.
Their feelings are going to be like,
Of
what?
course, but that's
You
why
know?
we have to remind them of who they are. That's up
Yeah.
to us, right?
I'm not disagreeing with
Yeah,
you. I'm
yeah.
just saying that
It's gonna
their
be
feelings
hard,
are going to be very.
obviously,
Yeah.
but we have to remind them of who ultimately is their father, who ultimately is the one who created them, who is your parent, your true parent. the one who gave you a soul, the one who formed you in the womb. As scripture says, I knitted you in your mother's womb. I formed you. I knew you before I made you, who God intended you to be alive, even if it came out of this horrific means. God is the one who formed you in the womb. It wasn't just simply from a horrific act, right?
Volume down.
So it's obviously, like I'm saying, horrifically hard, painful. You might need counseling, but an abortion isn't. This rape already happened. Abortion isn't gonna.
No, it's not gonna. No,
It's
it's not
gonna-
gonna fix it or make it any better.
Yeah,
no one's
exact-
saying that.
Yeah,
one's saying that,
exactly.
yeah.
But I'm just saying the options that a person has, right? If we look at the options, it's like you have this abortion and it's not going to take the rape away, and you're just going to feel like you killed this. Later on, there are a lot of women who regret their abortions. And not only that, what they do to your body. You might never have another baby again. You will never, imagine you get married, you grow up, and now because of that act, you can't even have kids that you want to have. And it's
And
just...
now that rape has now controlled so many other aspects of your life. Like you've given it that kind of control.
That power.
That power, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if I were a product of rape and I met my birth mother and she told me that I was a product of rape, you can still explain to them that, I chose not to kill you because I felt that your life was precious enough to be born. And so that in itself should be good enough for them too. Yeah, they might need help too, trying to process that. That's not going to be easy either way, but you still gave that person a life.
Well, this goes right into the other topic of not having gun control. No, I'm just kidding.
So what about birth control?
Hold on, really quick. So, going back to the abortion, I don't know if was anybody at Minnesota last year?
No.
The dinner that we have with Right to Life of Michigan. So we actually
What is it called?
Minsharatha, which means from the beginning.
Yeah.
So our main speaker was Shauna Pruitt, and she was actually a victim of rape. And she spoke about her experience and, the trauma that she went through, but she chose to have her child. And, she says it's the best thing that, she ever did in her life.
She kept her daughter, or she gave her up?
She kept her daughter.
She kept her.
And I can't remember what explanation she had because she did tell her that, she was raped. But there was something that she said. It was so beautiful, and they were out in the lake, and I can't remember what it was. And I'll chop it up if I even try to paraphrase. But she was actually telling us about her experience, and the child is what made her realize she was still alive, because she felt absolutely dead inside after that rape, and she couldn't she didn't feel she was alive. But when she felt, I remember she was saying she was on the bathroom floor because she got raped in college. She was in her dorm and she was on the cold tile because she just wanted to feel something, and it was the baby's kick that made her realize she was still alive and that there was life in her, and it gave her hope to continue going on. So you also don't hear those stories because they're also not, publicized, because media doesn't want us to hear stuff like that. And I think it's such a beautiful thing.
I will say I saw a show that was showing the children that were from rape victims, and they're all actually very normal. They had a good life. They were happy. It wasn't like a bad story. It was actually, they realized that they were conceived because of a horrific act, but it was interesting to see how many people kept their children, and they're very happy afterwards.
Yeah, and that never ever gets brought up. And going back to what you said, I think you were reading Mark or somebody's comment.
Mark, Hub 21 AA.
There's not a gene for
Johnny's
rape.
screaming, Helen. I'm like, okay. What?
Johnny,
So I'm
Mount
just
Hub
saying,
21 AA.
there's no gene for rape.
I think they're brothers.
Who?
That's more of a
How about-
psychological behavioral stuff.
Steve mentioned the three. He said rape, incest, and you said medical. So what if a woman is pregnant and it is medically necessary for her to terminate? If
Where it would be her life.
If
or
you're
her life.
pro-life,
baby.
if
Or
you're
both.
pro-life,
Or both.
Or both.
Well,
How
if
does
you're
that go?
pro-life, yeah, I mean, the whole point is to give that child life.
So the church says that you
The
should
church
still
says
go.
yes, no matter what. Even if I were to die delivering, that baby should still be born, because
sorry,
in
I
God's
disagree.
eyes.
I'm sorry, I have to disagree. Even though I'm Catholic, if
And
somebody
it's
has,
okay, Mark.
I
It's okay
disagree
to
because if
disagree.
somebody has 3 or 4 kids,
Yes.
if somebody has 3 or 4
not
kids,
an abortion, but like if the procedure, let's say you get chemotherapy, and the chemo is not intended to kill the baby, but it's treating your cancer, and then the result is.
But that's not what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, but that's what I'm talking about.
No,
there
no,
are.
no.
But
That was
I
the
don't think
medical-
we can
that was the
ever- I don't
medical
think we could-
aspect,
Yeah,
what
you
he
can
said.
never-
No,
Or
there-
if-
no, no,
if
no,
the-
there's a
what you
different.
mean.
No.
if there's a very high probability that that mother's going to pass, and she's got 3, 4 other small kids she has to take care of, and it's the baby or her, I'm sorry, I think the mother
Well,
should
there's
live.
also a father, there's family, there's
It's still not. No, I disagree. I mean, I'm sorry. It's my.
I'm with you, Mark.
I disagree. I can't say.
I'm with you, Mark.
I'm with the 3. I'm with the 3, and I understand what Rita's saying. It's, you have to believe.
And
But-
I, yeah.
and
I-
follow,
if
follow,
you're
follow, but-
pro-life,
Life.
yeah.
But
if you're
it's
pro-life,
2018, and
yeah,
you know what?
no. It's not to. No, if you're
If the doctor's
pro-life,
telling you something's wrong,
There's no-
you better believe that doctor.
Steve, if you're
Not necessarily,
pro-life,
and I'll
that
tell you
means
why.
you're pro-life under any circumstance.
Exactly.
Period.
You're not
End of story.
pro-life.
There's no the 3 or this. That means no under any.
And I could contradict your statement.
No, but
No, it's
what
not.
she's
If-
saying
What I'm
is
saying
actually
is that
true.
true.
You cannot. Sit
You
here and
can't
say
be
you're
pro-life
Then
and
when
say,
you have
there's-
oh well, in certain
circumstances.
circumstances.
There's a lot. You can't be
That's like
Catholic
me saying
if
I'm
you have
Catholic,
sex
but I'm gonna
before
be a
marriage.
cafeteria
There's-
Catholic,
you can't
and I'm
be
gonna
this
pick and choose
Catholic
which
if
ones
you're
I
doing
want to
this. You
Yeah,
can't
I
be
mean-
Catholic
Which ones I
if
don't.
you don't
This
go
is what
somewhere.
she does.
I'm just
So
giving
what
you
do
my
you
honest
think?
opinion. If
Yeah,
you,
and
if
that's
you're,
my opinion too.
if-
I understand,
Mark,
but I mean
agree
that's
with
your
you.
outlook,
Yeah,
and that's like
that's-
you know.
yeah,
how,
I'm not,
how you learn, but I think
I'm
you can speak
Catholic.
to-
I'm in 99% of the situation. That's the one situation. I'm not going to
Listen.
lie to you. I think that the mother's important. If she has
Listen.
3, 4 other kids she needs to take care of, I'd rather have the mother around. And
But I know, and it's
I'd
like
rather
when
not.
You say
I would
that we're
not.
Catholic, and you lay down your life for another. Just like I mean, if we're trying to imitate,
It's good
Christ, are we
ideally to
really?
talk that way, but when you're taking a mother away from small children,
It happens every day.
it does happen every. It doesn't mean it's a good thing. It doesn't
I'm
mean
not saying
good
it's
thing.
a good thing.
I'm just saying that.
Well,
No,
here's
but
the
what
thing,
we're
though.
saying, but here,
you're still taking away
if
a
you're
life.
pro-life, you're all in.
Yes.
Taking
That-
away a
but
life
that-
regardless. The
Mark,
mother's going to be gone or the
listen,
child.
Because there's a
I'm not
chance that she
disagreeing
could
That's what I was
not.
just gonna
She-
say. So
There's
like,
many times that they've said a mother will die
Yes.
and she didn't. Just like that baby could be born with a disability and
Yeah.
they don't. There's many times that they've been
Yeah.
diagnosed.
So
with
if you're
I-
pro-life, you're all in.
I will give you
That's
guys
it.
an example. I was recently pregnant. I have a 6-month-old. I was told by 2 doctors to terminate because they found a mass in my uterus that they couldn't identify, and so they possibly thought it could have been cancer. And so I was encouraged to terminate. I decided not to because I just couldn't do that. That was not something that I could do. But I did chance that.
But if they told you that there's a
But we don't
98%
know.
chance,
You still don't
let me
know.
tell you, there's a lot of times medically.
There are some.
There are some
women who have
situations where they
situ-
will
yeah.
tell you there's a 98% chance the mother will die during delivery. I'm sorry, I'll take the mom over the unborn child.
I have a
Like I
relative.
said, at the
And,
point
but you
where
know what?
I
That's
was
also
at-
an argument for pro-choice, and the number of in statistics of how many actually have that situation is so small. It's like 0.0 something percent. So you can't.
But
even
there
look
are
at that as an
situations-
And then people blow it up to make
Exactly.
it like.
because that's what they want to use
So
to
that
get
they can make
everybody.
pro-choice.
This is not an
Same thing with
excuse
rape.
like something may or may not be. This is like there's medical situations where it's a very high probability. And if I'm a father and it's my wife and we have other kids,
And you're
I'm sorry,
unborn.
I'm not going to be.
So would you give up your life for your born child?
See, now you put me in an odd situation.
No, I'm asking
I
you a
would
question because
if
that's
it's gonna
still your child.
if it's taking a bullet for him, absolutely, I'll
Okay,
do
but why
anything
would
for
you-
my kid. My
your
kid
child
who's
is born
my
at the moment of conception. So when your children were born, and I'm gonna cut you off, but
Uh-huh.
when your children were conceived and in the mother's womb, did you not love them until the day that they were born?
hold on, the kid's
No,
still.
answer that question first.
Hold on, let me ask you another question. Is it important for the parent to be
You
there
can't
when?
ask me a question
No.
when you
How
haven't
about
answered
what are the
yours.
chances of the kids that are alive that have a life that are already alive that will go the wrong way in life because they don't have a parent? Because in this
And how
country,
many go the wrong way because they do have a parent? I mean that's not a good.
I still disagree.
Argument. That's
no
not
matter what
good.
you tell me, I'm going to disagree. I still think the
I
life of that
understand.
mother is more important than
But I
who has
just
small
want to
children.
Know why is that child less of a value than your child that's already born? Because regardless, that
I'm not
child
saying
is
it's a
still
less.
child.
I'm not
It's not
saying
gonna
it's.
be
But
easy.
it-
Something you need to
they're
pray
both-
about. Something you don't
they're-
just decide
they're
at one
both-
point.
I
and you
don't
just
think
decide.
it's a
They're
black
both
and
of
white
great
area.
value.
You need to
I'm not
pray.
saying-
You need to pray and have and discern.
Yep.
There's
Well, obviously there's a right choice.
This is
and a
not a
right
black
choice
and
of
white
what we
issue.
do.
There's
No.
a lot of gray area
But
involved.
some-
yeah.
And if you're you can't
I'm
make
just
it.
saying, because it's
involved.
like if it's a child that's like born, and I'm just playing devil's advocate right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if
You
know,
would
God
die- yeah,
forbid,
you would
like
die
your
for the
wife,
child.
and was like in a situation, she's like, oh well, I let the child die because I didn't want to die. And then and she's like, well, I have like 2 other kids, so let that one die instead of me.
Well, you gotta look.
be
Either
okay
way,
with
one
that?
of you is gonna go, and it's just more important to have the mom with little kids. Whether I know it's idealist in the idealistic world, everybody's like, "Yo, absolutely not, no matter what." But
I'm just
not
like- I'm
everything's
just saying,
black and white.
well, it's
You
not
can-
black and
you can-
white, but that's why I'm also
You can
giving
take
you
an
the grace.
attorney's viewpoint and you can zoom in on any one part of the situation and make it. That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. But you're asking an opinion. I'm telling you the truth. In my opinion, it's more important for the mother to be there, especially if she has a full family to take care of, than it is for her to be gone. And that's just me.
No, and I respect your opinion. I'm
I
just
think
saying
it's
if
really
that's the
difficult because, I mean, like I said, I chose not to, but there could have come a time later on in my pregnancy that I would have had to make that decision a little more aggressively, or if I had to like really pray about it. I mean, I knew that that was a possibility that I would have to face that decision, like really face it. And I think until you're in that situation, it's so difficult
And
to
I
say.
I do want to like point out these numbers, but there was a study done on how many people were diagnosed with just like disabilities. They may have not been born with one, but there's 87%. That's a huge number
Mm-hmm.
of
That
how
just
many
shows like
abortions, and that's like when you look at the whole topic, as a whole. Those are the children that are basically getting aborted. It's not for these like random situations like that.
which we talked about, yeah. It's such
And
a
a
low
lot of people
number.
focus on those things when those are not the majority of who's getting
I
aborted.
wasn't focusing on it. I was just answering the
No,
question.
No, I'm not saying
To
no,
me,
I'm
I
not
don't
saying
honestly.
that.
That's the only situation I think I could even.
I'm saying activists
even-
that are pro-choice.
No, I'm saying like all the other situations. I'm like, yeah, save the child. That's the one situation.
It's
I'm in
hard,
disagreement.
It's a very hard decision.
Yeah, of course, it's a very difficult. But that's why I'm saying. But if you are pro-life, if you're all the way in under any circumstance, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's what being pro-life means. Again, I don't disagree with you, Mark. And again, I told you if I was a rape victim and I was pregnant, I guess I'm going to hell, but I thank God, like I said, I'm never going to be in that situation. But I would not be able to
Kevin,
carry
tell
that.
us-
Pray.
Can you
Pray
say
that
what you
you'll
said in the
never be
beginning?
No, no, I won't be. I'm too old.
In case
Oh, stop.
someone has
No, I'm
already had an
serious.
abortion.
Oh, yeah. In case anyone out there has had an abortion, it's very important that you know the love and mercy that God has for you, because this is not about pointing the finger at you and making you think like, oh, you're this horrible, evil person. God always wants to bring healing, right? Healing upon you, and He can totally transform you and heal you, because we have such an awesome God that He can even forgive us even when we take the life of our own children, because that's the awesome mercy. That's the awesome mercy that God has, right? And so it's very important that if you know someone who has had an abortion, to always lead them towards Jesus, and know that if they open themselves to His mercy, especially if you're Catholic, maybe in confession, speak to a priest that's a merciful priest that can just help bring healing to you, because Jesus ultimately, loves you unconditionally. He wants to heal you in those moments. Is there anything? Have you seen healing, Rita, about people receiving healing
absolutely.
after having an abortion, completely being changed?
Absolutely, a
Yeah.
complete conversion, and a lot of times, Right to Life actually has like this thing called U-turn. So they're converted people who basically turn back, and now they've become pro-life because they've received that love and they've received that mercy. There's many different types of retreats also.
Yeah.
By the way, I just
Yeah,
thought of the perfect scenario to kind of combat what you said. Thinking about it,
Rachel's
it's like telling me
Not
I'm
Martha's
Catholic.
Vineyard.
The Catholic religion says do not kill, right? But if I'm getting robbed and I have a gun on me and I'm a Catholic, I'm going to kill the guy.
It's
Well,
so it's
actually,
kind of the same thing.
thou shalt not murder.
Sorry.
Murder.
Whatever,
You
thou
could-
shalt not murder. So my point is, it's
self-defense.
but no, but you're Catholic.
you can't kill. It's against.
No, actually,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
my point. Is this is the kind of situation when you're asking me this question, you're putting me in. It's the same kind of scenario.
But you're not defending yourself for
From
an
the baby.
abortion.
You're saving your family in a way because without their mother, they're gonna have a heck of a hard time. I'm just saying.
You're just
It's
still
kind of
trying
the
to,
similar.
like, go
No,
for
no,
that.
no, no. I'm just saying it's kind of like the way you phrase it. It's a conundrum that you're in. That's very difficult to answer and can be put many different ways.
I think it's honestly it's a case by case basis in that sense. Like when it comes to like a mother or a child, you won't know what you're gonna do until you're in that situation. It's
And you
very
really don't know. And Mark, you may be okay, and your wife might say, well, you know what? And you might be you could say, no, I want you to be here and abort, but your wife might say to you, no, I can't. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
that's the thing. It's you don't know which way it's gonna go. It's a tough call, and I'm on your side. If it's the mother or the baby,
it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
I want to get
I
to
know
something real
firsthand.
quick in this topic, and then we have to jump to the next one. What about the whole issue of birth control?
That's also killing. You're stopping a child from being born. And there's also many different types that are actually not preventing you from having a baby. So you still conceive, and then it kills after, which are the abortifacients.
So what is that? I think is that there's that family planning method
Natural
that the
family
church.
planning.
Yeah, what does that entail exactly? How does that work?
That's a very
Natural family
detailed
plan-
process.
Yeah, like that's a whole other
can we-
topic.
Yeah, in 30 seconds.
But
no.
basically,
Can we do a quick summary?
you can have sex,
On days that you are
ejaculate
not,
inside the woman.
Yeah, go ahead.
on the days that you are not fertile. So you have to really calendar your days, your cycles. I mean, things
During
but very-
ovulation,
yeah.
you just you abstain
how's
from
that any
sex.
different? Then how's that any different than taking a birth control pills?
It's completely different because there's
Because
nothing
you're
wrong with
still-
abstinence, and that's all you're doing. You're
Yeah.
abstaining
You're
from
abstaining
sex.
from sex on the days that you are fertile.
Because we're saying that ultimately it's still open to life. Contraception is essentially saying I'm closed off to life. So there's still essentially the possibility that you're still
have a tough
open.
time with that
you're
one.
still
I
open.
really- I
you're
don't-
still open to life, and you're using your body's natural cycle and
Shouldn't have to
rhythm.
worry about
And
it,
there's
right?
other aspects to it.
I'm
Not
You're not
just
doing
that.
that stuff, are
So
you?
mean.
I'm not worried about it,
Yeah.
Steve.
Mhm.
I'm old and
Lockdown.
Decrepit.
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, stop.
No, I mean I'm serious.
You're not old.
No, nobody.
Okay,
Let-
relax.
anyway,
But before we
let's
end,
not talk
before
about
we
me.
before we end on this, can we just, if there's any
I didn't mean like
information
that.
we
You
need to
should-
give
shouldn't
to
be doing
women
that
who are
kind of
contemplating
behavior
abortion,
anyway,
where should
right?
they go? Do we have
That was my
information
point.
for them if they
Not
need to
that
go
you
somewhere?
can't
If
have
they
a
know-
child. I'm sure you could.
If they know someone
they
who's-
can always go to the church. They can always go to Right to Life of Michigan. Their website is rtl.org.
RTL.org.
Yep, rtl.org is the
Mhm.
website. But there's many different organizations
beautiful.
that are willing to help in the community. There's Mary's Mantle, which also helps support pregnant mothers who, need assistance.
Yeah.
That are basically they want to have a child, or they're not sure.
Yeah.
So you give them the love and support, and you help them even in the first period of.
And what
after
were
they're-
the names of
after they
those
have the
retreats
child.
that you said for people who've had abortions? that
Rachel's
help-
Vineyard.
Rachel's
Not
Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard.
Rachel's Vineyard. So they do retreats for women who've had abortions, and this brings
Yes,
a lot of
and you
healing
get all
to
the
them.
counseling. It brings a lot of healing.
Yeah. So if you know anyone out there who's had an abortion and who needs this kind of healing, you recommend. You said Rachel's.
Absolutely.
Rachel's
Where is
Mantle.
Rachel's
Or go to
Vineyard at?
counseling. Hope
Or
and
go to Hope
Counseling
and
is here.
Counseling, too.
Or,
Woo!
Hope and Counseling. Look at her giving herself a shout
Yeah,
out. But they have it all over the country. But
Do they have like real grapes and
Okay,
vineyards?
Mark
or-
is.
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, we
Mark-
need to
Mark-
talk about
Yeah.
this.
Okay. So we would like to answer some of the questions of the viewers. Mark says,
Nadi.
"How could it
Wait,
be a
let's go
chi-
earlier, actually.
Okay.
Earlier he said it's not really a child when it's still early and merely just a chemical composition at that point in time. And then now he just said, how could it be a child already? It's not a child that early. Come on, guys, define child.
actually, scientists themselves have never ruled out that it's a child at the moment of conception. So I don't understand where this argument comes from.
Like I said,
It's not
go
a
to an
blob.
ultrasound.
Yeah.
Go to one ultrasound and you will see that it is a human.
No,
When
he's
you
talking
see-
about
They
at
have
the
a heart, they have
actual
feelings.
inception.
But I mean, literally, I mean, you can get
Conception of inception.
you can get an ultrasound as soon as 5 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah, the gender, the genes, everything is formed like immensely quick. It's it's not just
Science
tissue.
gets better. That
Mhm.
foreshadowing is going to be better
Scientists
too.
have
Yeah.
never ruled that out. that it's an actual child.
Yeah, even in the stage when we say words like fetus and is it, how do you pronounce it, zygote? I always say it correct.
Zygote?
Yeah, I always pronounce it incorrectly. But these are just stages of life. Like the child is developing and growing, but it's still a human. You always consider it a human. You never, people just call it a fetus sometimes, but it's still, it has a human nature. It's human. It's
Because
not.
it dehumanizes it when you say fetus.
As if it's not a human. And it's not just tissue. Yeah.
I think
Actually, when you
Johnny
have
says-
the child, it's already 9 months old by the time it's born.
Johnny-
out in the world.
Johnny says, what would the next day pill, the morning after pill, do?
Is it killing?
Is
a
it
child?
killing a child or just
Yes.
killing a thing?
It's killing a child because you're already pregnant.
Okay. Did you get that, Johnny?
Are there pills that I've heard, I'm not sure, that stop you from ovulating? Or I don't know exactly. Let's say you've
Birth control.
or you're not pregnant yet. Is that birth control?
Birth control pills.
Okay, so are those there that you take after? Can they take those? They shouldn't be taking them at
They're
any
supposed
moment.
to take it before.
Wild.
But
Yeah.
there's some of these that are not that's
No,
not
the
abortion,
more-
but
Like
it's
an
still
IUD,
it's still
you
stopping.
still get pregnant, but the IUD actually kills the baby.
It kills.
Well,
the baby.
no,
Yes.
no,
Yes,
the-
it does.
no. An IUD prevents you from.
No, it does not. It does not prevent you from having a child. You can still have a baby. You can still get pregnant. And then
And
when
some
it's
women
working
do.
correctly, it kills that.
Did you ever see that
baby.
picture of a baby
So you
being
have no
born
idea
that
how
had
many
the
abortions
IUD in
that
its
person
hand?
has had.
Have you ever seen that picture?
Mm-mm.
A baby was born and the IUD was in its hand.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's
You can
insane.
have like dozens and dozens of abortions
Mhm.
systematically with this IUD.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out really quick for what we're doing. So next week, Thursday, at Mother of God Church, we're actually sponsoring Right to Life of Michigan is hosting by their educational fund our third annual Feed My Sheep conference. So it's all focused on different topics on pro-life. And this year's theme is actually going to be on like the disabilities within the community and how it affects us.
Nice.
We have main speakers coming out. We have testimonials. It's always an amazing informational event. But like I said, this year's topic is actually called See My Wings, because we're going to kind of discuss a little bit about actually more about what we were just talking about, how they're angels like in disguise. And you can see so much love and purity within these souls.
that's awesome. What time is the event?
It starts at 7 o'clock. It's from 7 to 9. It's free.
That's a good point.
It's geared mostly for high school and college age adults. But I'd say anybody who wants to come hear more about the topic,
So
wants
it's in
to
the
learn,
church hall of
definitely
Mother
come
of
out.
God?
It's actually inside the church.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Okay.
Great.
We'll be taping it too, because I used to start this actually when I directed the youth programs at the church, and then Right to Life of Michigan had partnered with us to.
There's a comment here that says the day after pill is not killing but confusing the body that ovulation has happened and there is no
No.
conception. I'm just reading what it says.
No, because as soon as the sperm catches the egg,
Tanya's
you're
a
pregnant.
nurse. The person, it's just a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
She's a nurse.
But Joe made a good point. He said, if science has found microscopic bacterial cells on Mars, the news would report life found on Mars.
Exactly. But it's also funny how going back to if you get murdered, if somebody was pregnant, why is that a double homicide?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't look
Yeah.
at that in the
Exactly.
womb.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing is whenever you approach a woman who's pregnant, you never go up to her and say, "Well, are you going to keep it?"
Yeah.
who talks to a pregnant woman that way? You rejoice with her, congratulations, your baby.
Yeah,
You don't
I would never
just
argue
go up to
that
a
it's,
woman.
yeah, I'd
and
never
just
argue
say,
that it's a life.
Congratulations.
I think
This
the
is
people who
Democratic
do-
talk.
I think
Doctors
This is
the
liberal
people
talk.
Who do
Doctors
argue.
also now will not congratulate you on being pregnant until they ask you if this was planned or not and if you are okay with it. This
Yeah.
is what I learned through my
This
own.
is
Yeah.
And there's many times doctors have actually advised women to have an abortion if the child is born with a defect
Oh,
that could
yeah.
be correctable.
Mhm.
In Belgium, I know they killed children who
Yeah,
were born
I
with
saw
a
that.
cleft palate
With a cleft palate?
with a cleft palate after they were already alive.
It's two
So it's
doctors
like
told me to
that's how
terminate.
far. Like
My
the
baby
more
is
we
perfectly healthy in its
allow,
own
we're
way.
just going to continue giving in. To, as Steve calls it, like the devil.
That brings us to our next topic.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And,
Rita and
Get
Kevin,
your seatbelts on.
you're
I
welcome
know.
to
I was
stay,
like, I
of
don't know if
course.
I want to stay.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be fine.
I didn't read the article though.
I skimmed through it. I mean, I read probably.
I read it.
Yeah.
I don't
So
even have to read it.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I wasn't informed on this.
No, I mean it wasn't.
Mike Sarafa wrote an editorial in the Chaldean News for this issue.
Why don't you put the disclaimer out there first, Omar?
What's the disclaimer?
You know
cares?
exactly what the disclaimer
Oh,
is.
come on, nobody cares.
Wait, hold on. What's the disclaimer?
You say the
he's your
disclaimer.
brother-in-law.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, that's fine.
Say
So-
it.
Huh?
My brother-in-law.
who
She just
cares?
made it for
Anytime
me.
you say a show, like if there's a reporter on MSNBC, they always say, "Well, you know what? This is my so and so. This is I'm related
Oh,
to." this."
Actually,
Steve,
they
let
don't.
him finish.
Actually, they don't. But regardless,
But if
Mike-
I'm
Mike
just,
Sarafa, my
we just have to
brother-in-law.
be more biased.
He did.
he did an editorial for the Chaldean News for this
I can
month's
read it
issue.
for you
Let me-
guys. It's very
Okay, hang on
short.
1 second. He did an article, and he called Trump a sociopath. That's basically the basis of the article.
Based on the fact that
Yeah, why?
after the Florida shooting, Trump said that if the FBI wasn't, they should have seen this should have come up on their radar, but instead they're too busy basically investigating him. So people think that because he made it about him,
He makes everything about him, though.
You know what though? I mean, what politician isn't a sociopath? Are you going to tell me Hillary Clinton was not, with the Clinton Foundation, with her sweeping all the rapes under the rug that her husband did with everything?
No one's disagreeing
No,
with
no,
him.
I'm not. I don't even like. I laughed when I saw that everyone was tripping about this thing because, again, anybody who rips Trump, I always say, give me the alternative. The alternative was Hillary. That is not an alternative. So you can tell me all you want about the guy, but in the end, there was no other nominee that was worthwhile. I mean, he did get lucky. There was the perfect storm for him that Hillary was running against him, somebody lower on the totem pole. But honestly, he's doing a great job.
best.
He ran against.
Not great.
He
The
ran
best.
against the lowest.
The
on
lowest,
top.
yeah. If it wasn't for
Not-
her,
not- yeah.
But
Not
he's doing a
just
great
lower,
job. I mean, it's
the
almost
lowest.
like he's at
It was a guaranteed win for him.
anything the guy does, he's criticized. That's why when I saw that Mike criticized him, it's like, yeah, whatever, dude. Join the other 50 million that is if he eats pizza the wrong way, they holler about him.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but
to me,
but some of his actions and some of the things that he says.
Helen, he's
and-
not PC. Thank God.
Excuse me, Steve.
God.
Can I finish just
God.
one time for the love of Jesus?
Thank God.
So some of his actions, what?
Some of his actions deserve the criticism that he gets. He's crass, okay? He's egomaniacal, and he's like
Can
a
you give us some?
child.
and
Can
Hillary
you give us?
Clinton
Can
continue.
you give us some examples of
Okay.
your diagnosis here?
Perfect example. Why did he need? Okay, so he tweeted about the thing that happened, the last school shooting.
Okay.
Well, if the FBI was
Is that true?
No,
Is there
because that's
any
bullshit.
truth behind that?
Give
Is
me
there
a-
any truth
so
behind
the
that?
FBI is
Oh,
nothing
is there any truth
Is
behind
that-
that?
is-
What have they been
Steve,
doing? What
so
have
the
they been
FBI
doing?
is doing nothing else but
Is there?
investigating.
Just tell me.
Donald Trump.
Is there a sliver
Are you
of
kidding
truth
me?
behind that? Is there?
No.
Okay, then you know
There
what?
is not.
You're not in tune to politics, and you need to stay mute on these situations and topics. You are not.
Okay,
if
so
you
let
don't
me
see
ask
any
you a
sliver
question.
behind that,
Let
if
me
you don't
ask
think the
you a
FBI has been
question.
doing their job the right way for the last 2-3 years, then you're in another world.
Okay, so
you
let
are.
me ask you a question.
Bottom line.
So the FBI is doing nothing else but investigating.
That's not the
Donald Trump.
point.
I'm
That's
asking
not the
you.
point.
No, that
That's
is
not the point.
He's
The
being
point is to
facetious,
raise
you know he is.
awareness.
He's being funny.
The point is to raise awareness and to raise attention to the situation. We have stuff going on in this country that needs to be investigated.
Okay,
and when
well,
schools,
he's running this
when you have
country, so
sheriffs
why
not
doesn't
doing
he
their
get
job,
the
when you have
FBI in
FBI
charge?
agents not doing their job, when you have people not doing their
Because-
job, what do you think is going to happen?
He's being facetious. You guys know he's joking around. He's not being.
My-
Because whatever he says these days, everybody gets offended. He's
Yeah.
being funny, but he's right. 38 times this kid.
There's a
was is
sliver
supposed to be
of
in
truth.
jail.
yeah,
They
Just
didn't
say
do
there's a
anything.
sliver of
Right,
truth.
the
Right, they
FBI
didn't do their
isn't.
job.
Right, the FBI did not do their job.
FBI is
but why
not doing
does
their
he
job.
Need to
Why
make it
not?
about
FBI
him?
Why not? Put
Because
them
of
on notice.
Hillary.
He's in charge of them. That's why he's their boss.
I have a question.
He is their boss.
Wait, I have a question.
You
You just
understand
said, why
that?
did
Do you
he
know
have
what
to
the
make it
president
about
is?
him?
He's the
Wait,
boss.
Steve,
That's
hold
it.
on.
Well,
Yeah, because
Steve,
he's
hold on.
egomaniacal.
Hang on.
Everything's
Okay, because
about
he's the
him.
boss,
Oh,
right?
hang on.
Which boss is it?
Hang on.
Wait,
Stephanie,
I have a question. We said that he made it about him, right? Didn't we all make that shooting about us? Oh, what about our kids? Oh, what about our schools? Now we feel unsafe.
great point.
Didn't we
Yeah.
all make it about us? We all did.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah, no, that's a good
no,
point.
but hang on a second. That's fine. You're making it about you because you're worried about your children.
But that makes me a sociopath
right?
then.
No, you're worried about your children.
Okay.
Yes or no?
But that's it's again my
Of course.
best interest.
No, he's not. He's saying, "Oh well, if they weren't so focused on me." Oh,
Yeah, because he's such a bad
But
guy. He
again,
did
we-
such
we
bad things
all-
in the last year and a half, right? You see where he's getting at it with this?
Can I ask you a question?
No, what's your
I
question?
want to ask you a question.
What's your question?
How much has your life changed since
A
Donald
lot.
Trump?
If
Really,
you
tell
can't,
me.
if you
Tell
can't
me
take
one
a
thing.
step
Wait a
back
minute,
and see
Helen,
what
on
happened to
the
this
opposite side
country
of
the
that,
last
look how many
year,
people are
you
acting
are
like
out
their
of your
life changed
mind.
for the worse. It hasn't.
You're out of your
Exactly.
mind.
It hasn't changed
If
for
you
the
don't
worse.
think this
Most
country
people-
has changed within
Actually,
1 year
for
of
the
this
better,
man being
paychecks have
president,
gotten
you
higher.
are out of your mind.
Because
Out of it. If you don't think so.
with paychecks
You
getting
just don't
higher,
know.
with the 25% that he's going to charge now to the steel industry on tariffs, so
Yeah,
that
but most
the middle
people
class
we're
can
talking
be rebuilt.
about. Yeah, but we're talking about most people.
But middle America is most people. If you're
Okay.
talking about, let's say, the steel mills, right? Pennsylvania, Ohio, even Michigan are going to be
we're
affected.
talking about Steve's.
No, but you're
Trump
saying, how
worship.
did Trump
He's
affect your life?
I'm asking
Us
that.
personally, it really doesn't affect us.
Exactly.
But you know what? Things did affect us the last presidency in a negative way. Healthcare, for example.
Yeah,
Healthcare has
I'm
gone
not
insane,
disagreeing.
gone through the roof. So there are actually a lot of positive things
Healthcare.
that he's done. I'll give him.
Did you see what happened in our village?
I know what you're saying. The delivery is bad.
The
The
delivery
delivery's
is horrible.
but the intent is good.
Delivery's
Like, for the
horrible.
steel,
To you,
right?
it's horrible. To me, it's like, hey, he's
No.
one of us.
Look, the media
He's
is
doing a great job. He's talking. He's doing his thing.
The media is going to paint him as the most. I mean, but the media is the same one. Time magazine put the Hitler as man of the year, and they also put Joseph Stalin on twice as man of the year. So the media is totally not trustworthy,
Yeah,
and
who
but they
cares?
attack him for everything. It's enough, you know. It's like let it go.
I know, but sometimes it's warranted. The
Okay.
things that come out of the tweets.
Although I'm
the
glad he
things that
fights back.
says-
I'm glad he
I don't
fights
like-
back.
I
Yeah,
don't
let me
think
tell
he
you.
should.
Let me tell you what.
Some of them
Let me
are
tell you what's
I
not.
disagree with
No,
that.
some things that he says are ridiculous, and he really doesn't have etiquette. But
Not
he's
even-
also real, which I do appreciate.
Doesn't
But,
that
um,
make all the rest of the politicians sociopaths because they say
I
the
think
right
they all
words?
are.
They say the right words to make sure that you have a specific image of them.
Listen,
Nancy Pelosi.
Here's the bottom line
Maxine
here.
Waters.
All right, here's the bottom
Well, I
line,
think
guys.
You have to take a look at yourself.
Let me
Hold
give you
on,
the
Steve.
bottom line.
Hold on, Steve. Really quick. So I was just gonna say, like, I mean, maybe we need to take a look at ourselves too and say, are we sociopaths? Because define
We're not the president.
sociopath.
We're not.
I understand.
We're not people who are running
Okay.
the greatest country
All right.
in the entire
And
world.
he's doing a
But
wonderful
if-
job.
So-
Thank you.
So if I'm a sociopath, why should I
It-
not
that-
worry
but
about
that would
myself?
that's
and
your
focus on other
opinion,
people?
right? And some other people don't feel the same
Hey,
way you do.
Watch CNN. That's all you have to do to get
I
that
don't-
opinion.
I mean, if
Steve,
we're a
listen.
democracy,
This
doesn't the
isn't- that's not
democracy
what
that
it's
people
about.
run
I-
the
Politicians,
country?
you care about your image. Is all you care about. Is like you want to get.
I got a question. Do you think the editorial was written because he knew he was going to get a
No.
lot of reaction out of it?
No, no. Hold on. Let me tell you why the editorial was written. We're in the middle of election season, right? It's midterms 2018. These liberal Democrats, the handful, I call them the handful, they're trying to persuade these voters because Trump deported Chaldeans. Al-Assad, Trump deported, he woke up and said Chaldeans are gone. So they're trying to use that as a basis of their platform to get people to vote Democrat. But that will never happen. Mike Sarafa, he's a Democrat. He's a liberal Democrat. He pushes his views liberal Democrat side. So when he does that, you have to take a step back and say, well, what is his motivation of doing that? He knows 98%. There are so many old men that sit in Chechanas that talk about Trump like he's the next Saddam. There are so many people that look at this guy and say,
I'm not sure
when
if
I say the
that's- I'm
next
not
Saddam,
sure, yeah.
hold
Sorry,
on.
I'm
I'm talking about respect. I'm not talking about as far as killing people and doing whatever. I'm talking about the talk of the Middle East. Trump is the man.
98%.
That's what they say. They say
98% of the community is not conservative.
okay, that's fine,
I
Omar.
know. If anything,
My
I
point
know a
is,
lot that actually didn't
my
want
point-
because
listen,
they wanted their Obamacare.
listen. My point is,
Lot of government assistance.
when someone goes against
Affordable Care Act?
when someone goes against their community, you're going to get backlash. So what does that tell you? The majority wins. You cannot sit there. See, if maybe 2 years ago, if Mike wrote an article that said, or maybe someone in the Obama destroyed Tel Kepa, or Obama destroyed the Nineveh plains. Why isn't that out there? You know, why didn't they do something about that? Why that whole 3-year stretch, nothing ever happened? Not one bad thing about
ISIS
Obama.
developed
Why?
by
I mean, think
Councilman
about
comment,
it.
Hillary.
Now Trump's a sociopath.
So-
It's not right. He shouldn't have done that. That article shouldn't have been in there. And if
can
they
do
don't have a
whatever he
rebuttal,
wants.
if they don't have, thank
And
God,
he can- who
thank
says
you,
he
Trump,
can't?
for saving Tilcappa, the next article, then something's wrong with this publication. There really is.
Well, hold on a second.
Okay, so hold
I
on.
agree with you. There
So-
should be a rebuttal, okay? But as far as him saying what he said, he has a right to express his opinion.
Absolutely.
Nobody denies that,
Absolutely.
Omar, but we're saying what are-
absolutely.
You were saying
But-
what are the reasons? It's
But
because
I'm giving you my opinion. For people say, oh no, back off. I say, well, is it because, hey, is there your family member, or is it someone that you like, or is it someone that we have to respect? I get that. I'm sure he's an awesome guy, but he wrote a garbage article. That's it.
No, it's,
That's all
no,
there
no,
is
no,
to
no,
it.
no, no. The article was not garbage. You disagree with the
Absolute
content. It wasn't
zibbit.
garbage.
What do you mean it wasn't garbage? It was CNN. They didn't have no originality to it. All you had to do was copy and paste the CNN article a day after that Parkland shooting happened, and you got the same article.
And
What are
the
you
crisis
talking about?
actors.
Anastassi came up with that himself. Every news story, Trump's a sociopath for saying this. Oh, well, let me be original and say the
Well,
same
if you
freaking
notice
thing.
all the liberal,
no, that was not original. Sorry,
You
Mike.
notice all the news outlets, they get a catchphrase and then they just keep repeating it. If you look every single one of the channels,
It's the same thing.
they catch,
Far from any
they
kind of
start calling
award-winning
Hitler-
journalism.
That's not
Far.
We used
He
to
said
have
a lot worse than
So
that.
okay, hold
I
on.
don't
So
think-
Johnny says we used to have a Muslim president. Okay, let's just say for argument's sake he was a Muslim.
He was.
And
And
That's why ISIS
did you
was
see what
armed.
happened to the White House? Up and down brotherhood. You have no clue.
Yeah.
You have no clue what
you
we were
were
waking
staffed
up
a
to.
lot of,
You have
Muslim
no
staff.
clue. Thank God. Bottom line.
ISIS was armed. Amazing how ISIS just disappeared all of a
no,
sudden.
Well,
listen.
he was being
I-
original because as I'm reading the first paragraph, he says that he was called a psychopath, but his originality is that he thinks he's a sociopath.
Yeah, but Hillary Clinton is not. The thing that kills me is all these
Sorry.
people that write these things. Hillary Clinton was not. Please, I always
yeah,
ask them,
what-
give me the alternative, please.
Listen, that's not the point. The point is we're talking about the content of the article, okay? The fact of the matter is, okay, I could see why people would view Donald Trump has done and said a lot of things. I mean, the guy has no moral compass. I'm sorry, he does not.
Well, I think there's
He
What did he
bragged
say?
about
Does
he
have moral
bragged
compass on.
he bragged about cheating on his wife and having a beautiful girlfriend
Okay.
and how life
Bill Clinton.
okay.
Okay.
Having
I'm
multiple
not-
affairs
Okay.
and
Listen, Bill
Hillary.
Clinton just
Obama.
the biggest
Obama's
success.
smoking crack.
And Hillary ruining their
Having
lives.
gay
The way that
affairs.
they came out, she ruined their
Why is
lives.
that
What else do you want?
Okay,
Sexual
so
assault and rape
because
women.
He's a man.
Obama did it,
Oh.
Clinton did this,
Oh,
so it's okay.
But
Whoa, whoa,
and,
whoa.
So Donald
he's such a
Trump-
bad
One
person.
at a time, please.
So hold on a second. We're not talking about Bill Clinton's a piece of shit. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, Bill Clinton's a piece of
You didn't hear
shit.
that, right, Kevin?
Sorry, Kevin. Okay, all these politicians are all garbage.
Yep.
Okay, bottom line. So why is it that your idol? Can you please tell him that idol worship is against our religion?
Because every time he gets on the mic, he speaks bad about abortion. He stands up for he stands up
You
for
just sat here and said
he
you
stands
have
up
three-
for
you-
hold on
you're for three
oh
reasons
hold on
women should have
that's,
abortion.
that's different and I
How
stick
is
to
it?
that.
Is that different?
I stick to
Is that
that.
different?
I
Really?
stick to
Is that
that
any different?
and I will stick to that. Okay.
Work on it. He's gonna work
I
on it.
will
Wait a
stick
minute,
to that.
Helen. As far as
Okay,
somebody,
but he
having-
does all the Christianity's back in the White House. They do Lord's prayers.
He's such
they
a
do.
good
He's doing the
Christian.
sign of the
He's
cross.
si-
Wait,
60
Helen.
years
Listen,
old
I don't
grandfather
care.
talking about
So
grabbing
what?
women's
Hey,
private
and who
parts.
does
But
it?
isn't it
So
funny-
what?
Who does
So what?
it?
Did he know he was going to be a president 14
But
years
isn't
ago?
it funny
What?
that
You haven't said
Democrats are
anything
more
like that
offended by
before?
people saying it than
Just
people
because
doing
he's
it?
a president.
No,
Whoa,
I'm not-
big deal.
listen,
Isn't it funny
I'm
that
not
they're more offended
defending
by
any of
Trump
those.
saying
I'm
that
not
than they were about
defending
Bill
any of
raping
those
people?
And I would never.
Kinda
def-
strange, isn't it?
Have I ever defended any of those people?
No, no, no.
Then who are you
And
going to
I'm not
defend?
on
What's
their
left?
side.
Who do you want?
You
Who do you
know
want
what?
as president? Jesus?
Hold on.
Because he is.
No one's saying that,
Hold on.
but he.
Hang on, hang on.
Listen,
No one's perfect, Helen.
I have another.
No one's perfect, but he's running this country perfectly.
Hold on.
Hold on. Let Helen talk for a second.
You guys.
Break. No one's saying he's perfect,
No,
but guess
absolutely
what?
not.
He's gonna be criticized.
talk about the
Everything he
actual-
says and does.
By whom?
By
Who's
the
doing the
entire
criticize?
country.
Who is doing the criticize?
the
What?
entire country's
That's you're
liberals.
wrong. You know how many
There's
people
actually a lot of
love
people that
him?
like
I
him.
think
They
Kevin was
love him
saying-
to
Kevin
death.
was saying something.
Please.
No, you're fine. No, I'm just saying it's like you don't have to like, even if you support Trump, you don't have to like everything he does.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
support everything he
agree.
says. I don't have to like a person personally. I don't have to like a person
his
person
actions have
personally.
been good.
But obviously, I still do believe he's doing a lot of good, even if this is a stupid. I don't even know
God
why
bless you.
he goes on,
God
does
bless
things.
you. You'll be my new
But
favorite priest. Keep it up.
Obviously,
Keep it up.
when choosing choosing a candidate or whenever it's like you always have to choose between two of the lesser evils. No one's going to get up that high power without doing something or saying something that's morally corrupt. It's just you obviously can see the good that some people are trying to do, but obviously that this whole gun situation, this statement is obviously just, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't like it, it's not what this whole topic is about. It's not about, it's people trying to take away guns and trying to deal everything's about gun control when we have other problems why this is happening.
Don't ever let a good crisis go to waste,
There we
right?
go.
Can I also say
Eric's on top of his
that
game.
this article, I just lost like total interest when he quoted the Urban Dictionary. Like that was, I mean, he put like a sentence or two about Psychology Today, which again is somewhat reputable, but you quoted the Urban Dictionary.
Wait a minute. Here's another one too.
For the definition of what a sociopath is.
The hypocrisy of the
like
liberal.
I lost interest there. That was done for me.
The hypocrisy of the liberals. He's Hitler. He's Hitler. He's Hitler. Please take away our guns and disarm us.
Listen, listen.
Exactly.
That's almost
Listen,
a comedy
I
sketch, you
just
know.
want everyone listening to know that there's upcoming elections coming up, and you guys need to get out there and vote red. Vote red. These Democrats running for office in our community, they have no clue, no idea what our community needs or what it's all about. Some of these Democrats running are anti-church,
Oh, and you like this one
anti-God.
here? Wait a minute. Mr. Leland Yee from California, who is the #1 guy for gun control, just went to
Trafficking
prison
guns.
for weapons trafficking,
Unbelievable.
accepting bribes.
He was
and
talking about the Democrat, the Chaldean Democrats who are.
Really? I honestly,
one
maybe
of them
he's not
is-
well spoken, but I would just say, like, reading in that, it just basically means the FBI needs to keep their, get their priorities straight, and there's nothing wrong in that.
No, not at all.
You know?
something
Yeah.
horrifically wrong.
I mean,
But according to
sometimes-
Helen, sociopath! Yeah!
Sometimes you
Let me
might
make
be
the
well spoken,
sociopath.
but
I
maybe
think
like
it's his
his
delivery.
intention.
It's his
It's his
exactly.
delivery. It's all
Yeah,
his
his
delivery.
delivery
And
sucks.
My-
But I think
delivery
his
is
intention
horrible.
is
My
his
sister-in-law
good.
said, "I'd rather have a president who may not always have the best delivery versus a snake in the grass." Like,
Oh, my
you
snake.
had Obama who was telling us things, but
Cobra
doing
Wawa.
something different behind the scenes.
different.
At least you know what, he's coming through. He says, you know what, you're going to say Merry Christmas again. He's done it. He says, I'm going to bring back the middle class. He's putting the tariffs on the steel industry. He's putting more in the paychecks. He's cutting payroll taxes. He is actually delivering on a lot of things that he promised. Now he's got to repeal the health care bill. He's got to
That's
do.
never going to happen.
You never know. Well, so
Wait,
far,
you think it was gonna
it's not
pass?
it's not a penalty now. So far, that if you don't get health care, there's no longer a penalty from the IRS.
sure?
100%, that's gone. They repealed that just about less than a month ago.
Okay.
So that's the first part. Now he's defunding it so that eventually it'll go away. You look at all the things that happen with the past regime, and for example, even the health care bill passing as a tax, which Judge Roberts should have gone to jail himself for being that deciding vote, and things that were done illegally, the health care bill. Somebody was arguing with me about Republicans don't want to work with Democrats. I go, need I remind you about we need to pass the bill so that we can see what's in it? When the health care bill passed and Nancy Pelosi's saying we need to pass it so we can read it and see what's in it. I mean, this is not in the greater
Mark,
interest of the American
you
people.
have to
Nancy
get everyone
Pelosi
to
saying
vote.
when Obama gave everybody $40 back as a refund, she's like, that's a significant amount. But now Trump gives them $1,000 back. She's like, those are crumbs. You don't want that. It's a trick.
Right.
It's like the hypocrisy, depending on the agenda that you need to push, is like it's like a comedy sketch. But I actually appreciate the fact that it's kind of funny seeing him talk back to people because they're dogging him.
But see, I don't think that's right.
Listen,
I don't agree with that.
Last
I think-
year.
I don't think it's right, and I'll tell you why. He's the president of the United States, okay? And he should act like it.
But the
What's
people
acting
should
like
also
it?
act like
What's acting like it?
James
Obama was
calling
very
him a
well
bum.
spoken, but he didn't
And
act like a president.
LeBron
so
James-
which would you rather
But
have?
No, I'm not.
Oh, yeah?
It's not a matter of
Oh.
what
I know we'd
what-
want both.
But
Okay.
you
Okay.
still hold the highest
Okay.
office in the world.
How can
about
you
the
do
people-
that?
So
How
you-
can you do that when everyone's
Steve,
attacking
why
him?
don't you ever let anybody?
No, no, no.
Because you always keep
I'm gonna give
talking.
No, I'm going to give you a point. I'm going to give
I
you.
always keep talking.
Hold on.
Jesus
But-
Christ.
I'm going to give you a point here. How about
always like that.
Helen? How about people respecting him in office?
I don't see he's got me using
For-
that word.
for-
I told you it gets
Helen, how about people respecting him being in office as a reciprocal thing? For example, hold on.
is it not a thing?
LeBron James gets on, who's got millions of followers, and calls the president, "You are nothing but a bum. You're this, you're that."
Yeah. And then it's CNN front page.
And CNN throwing
every time they bring a commentator on there, they're against
But
it.
I'm not.
How's it work?
Two-way street. Eminem. What
I'm
about
not
Eminem?
condoning. Listen, I'm not condoning
go to
any
hell.
of that
Excuse
type
my
of
language.
behavior.
But
He, as the president, should act like an adult. So whenever someone comes out and says something
he
against
should just
him,
do what Bill Clinton did and have him audited. Kind of like
There you
Paula
go. Have
Jones,
him on,
right?
okay.
He approaches Paula. He gets sexual advances to Paula Jones. She lives in a trailer park. She says no, so she's magically audited 15 times living in a trailer park. So maybe he should take Bill Clinton. At least he's not taking the Bill Clinton approach. He's not thugging him out. He's just answering them. It's not that big of a deal.
I also consider it like maybe you're already in this position. It's a stressful situation, but you have so much like negative feedback coming back at you, and it's like in
he's not
every
the only one.
aspect.
But he's not. He's not.
I
the
know,
first,
but it's like, okay,
he's
my
not
mom watches game shows like all day.
He's gotten way more
Why
than you.
do they talk about Trump in game shows?
Game shows.
Like, where does
Oscars,
he even? Why would they
game
even
shows,
discriminate?
sitcoms.
What are you talking
They got
about?
a cartoon.
So imagine.
Come on, Ellen.
I mean,
The
I'm
force
just gonna
is
say,
against
if I were
us.
discriminated against
Understand
like
that. As soon as you wake up and understand that, you'll be
I
okay.
would blow
I was
up.
at last year. I was at the Grammy Awards, and I'll never forget. Margaret Cho was up there, and she's giving out Grammy Awards.
Yeah.
For goodness sakes, in a very high class event, and she says, "I just want to say one thing: F Donald Trump." I'm like, you just lowered the class of your event and lowered the. And I actually emailed the Grammys afterwards. The chapter I'm
Did
in,
you?
and I emailed them and said that it was a classless move on your part to have somebody hosting. I said, you actually made yourself look bad because this is supposed to be a high-end, classy event, and yet you take the time to say these kind of words at your event, which actually demeaned you,
Well, how come
demeans
she didn't
you,
get
not the
criticism
president.
for talking ill?
It
Or
reminds me
speaking ill,
of
you know,
what,
in a way
what
that
happened
then-
with the
not-
deportees. You know, when the deportee situation took place, the Democrats in the community took advantage of it and took every opportunity to bash Donald Trump.
And that had nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Exactly. It's like,
I mean,
why?
like, honestly, this has been there all along. It just was not enforced.
You're
That's
right.
all.
You know what? I'd
now,
say
now they're running for office, some of them, and they're anti. As he was saying before, Steve was saying they're anti-church. One of them, one of their cohorts last year attacked Father Brian on Facebook.
Yep.
You know, one of them, the guy who's running right now. This is not the opinions of the show. This is my opinion. Wissam Naoum, because he announced his candidacy
I like
already.
how you name call.
He's
What is
Omar.
it?
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
No, it's public. He announced his candidacy.
Something wrong with your.
Oh no, just something popped up. It's fine. It's still working.
So this is like he's one of the guys who is anti-church, anti-clergy. They feel that the church's authority, is too absolute over the community, et cetera, et cetera. So it's happening in the community too, just like it's happening outside. And like I said, these guys jumped on the opportunity when the deportee situation took place. They bashed Trump, and I remember at the time specifically asking him, "Why are you guys wasting your time doing that?" "Oh, because we reached out to the Republicans. They're not helping us. They're not." I said, "Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You're still making matters worse by bashing the authority. You're not doing any good for the deportees, the detainees, by just sitting there and criticizing and attacking. Whatever issues you have with him, or you think he's messed up, or whatever, you guys should be kissing his ass right now."
I just feel like since when do we speak out against the president? I feel like we were raised that we voted. If we were allowed to vote, we voted. And then whoever was voted in, we respected them no matter what. Even if we didn't necessarily agree with them, we respected them.
it started for me, really, in 2014 when Obama got up there and said, ICE is his JV, don't worry about it. And all the while they were in Tulkepa taking the graves and unearthing them and tearing down all the culture and artifacts and whatever else they can do to that area. And they're JV. Oh, we just sent a plane. And everyone's like, yeah. And then you would see these Democrats at our community. Oh, we just went to D.C. and we got weapons for NPU and we're going to win the war. And where are they now?
Well, don't
Where
forget
are they
too,
now? How
don't-
come they don't talk about the villages anymore? They're worried about the detainees. Now let me tell you something
They're
about the
busy bashing
detainees.
Trump.
Let me tell you something about the detainees. The way I see it, thank God. You know why? Because now they could have a clear conscience on the back of their mind. They don't have to worry about going every day to a field office and seeing if they're going to get rounded up that day for the years and
Some of
years
them
and
still
years.
do- still have to do that.
They're getting their life straight one way or the other, and they're going to know their status, because you cannot live in this country or in your life with that cloud or that burden on your shoulder.
Let
You
me-
cannot.
How many have been
Right, but
deported?
there's also many that
None.
could have taken care of that situation.
That's what I'm
years
saying.
ago.
It's it's
No,
being
I know.
taken care
Yeah,
of
no,
now,
there's a-
and they're going to have their chance.
No, they've deported people.
What's that about?
No, they haven't.
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
No.
yeah, they have.
They
There's
have
been.
not.
I have
They have
not heard
not.
that
They have not deported.
None of them have gotten
anyone.
deported. I talked to Joe
And,
Kasabi.
and
said
let me
everyone
make
stopped.
one
Yeah,
thing
no.
straight, and I'm not downgrading these people. Thank goodness for them. They went and they're lawyers. They're doing their thing. Yeah, I praise that. I praise those actions. They did a great job. But you know what? We don't need pats on the back every 6 seconds. We don't need this. We don't need that. Just do your job. You want to be right? Do your job, and don't make it political. Do it out of your goodness of your heart, and do it for Jesus. And if you're against that, then you know what? Whatever your motives are, they will shine out and they will come out.
Yeah,
Bottom
I agree
line.
with Steve on that one because I have seen a lot where I've thought to myself, I think they're just kind of jumping the bandwagon because they want to be put in that light, and it's all about them, and it's not about helping these people.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. And it wasn't from the beginning. Do you know how many
I mean,
times?
look at the articles or look at the posts that they put up. It's all about them.
Do you know
and
how
they
many
talk about
times
Trump
Anti-Trump.
doing that.
for the whole month of June?
You're guilty of it.
For the whole month of June, do you know what they were doing? All they were doing, these guys, is posting, I'd like to thank so-and-so, and that person they were thanking was
Yeah.
part of their group. I'd like to thank
thank each
every
other.
hour. It was disgusting. I was like, what are you doing? What
It
are you
was,
doing?
Well,
a word
also in comparing the current president to the last president, I mean,
And by no means was I comparing this president to the last president.
No, I'm
'cause
just
you
saying
all
that
know my opinion of
there
the
was-
last
Like him?
president.
when
I don't know your
the
opinion.
fundamental
She loved
but
Obama.
No, I'm just saying the fundamental
He
transformation
was
that he
my
spoke
best
about
friend.
for the country. So that I want to read you guys the principles. So Hillary Clinton and Obama both taught the principles of Saul Alinsky. So Saul Alinsky was a socialist, but his basic thing was how to basically how to control a society. So here's his principles right here, which were implemented by Obama and would have been even more in depth taken care of by Hillary. So it's called Rules for Radicals. And how to create a social state. There are 8 levels of control. Number 1, healthcare. Control healthcare, you control the people. Socialized medicine. Poverty. Increase the poverty level as high as possible. Hasn't that happened? The Great Divide that he gutted the middle class. Number 3, increase the debt to unsustainable levels. There's the president who spent more than every president leading up to him. Number 4, gun control. Ding, ding, ding. They've been trying on that one for a long time. Number 5, welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives. So how much did welfare increase under the last president? Record levels. Number 6, education. Take control of what people read and listen to. When have children been more indoctrinated than they have been in the last 8 years when he was president? Religion. Remove the belief in God from the government and schools. Hello. Number 8, class warfare. Remember the 1%ers and the big divisive thing and all the marches on Wall Street and all that they had? And basically, does any of this sound like what was happening in the United States then? Thank goodness that stopped.
Yeah.
And
I would
Hillary-
say that people would say, "Oh, you're just being crazy, or you're too like."
No, they're called useful idiots.
Yeah, like it's actually happening.
He calls them in the book. They're called useful idiots. That's what he calls people, useful idiots. Like George Soros is also a believer in this. And it's social engineering, and people didn't even realize.
You
what's
know I
happening.
love socialism.
Oh yeah, yes. So,
I'm all about that.
but that's why I will agree with Steve as much as I'm not a zealot for Donald Trump, but I will say
Not a zealot. I'm a zealot for our
at
children
least-
because
no.
he'll be gone in a few
Hold on.
years.
I'm not done
But
talking.
your kids won't.
Hold on. At least he's trying to do the right thing. If his execution is bad, I'll give him credit for trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, his execution is horrible.
It's wonderful.
No, I'm sorry. Not his
He needs to.
implementation is good though.
Absolutely
Kevin,
godsend.
Kevin,
Kevin, I need you to just plug your ears for a second. Donald Trump needs to shut.
I disagree.
Oh yeah.
I disagree.
Why don't you go do an
I think
article?
it's
and
actually
tell the
good that
news?
he's rebutting these
Yeah,
people.
go.
Well, it's just
And what are
funny
you
to
gonna
me
do about
because, if you look at videos from the '80s of when he was doing interviews, so many would tell him that he should go and run for president.
Well, I'm going to give you.
Did you ever watch
how about
those?
Mitt Romney? I'm going to
Guys,
give you the
he
perfect
won.
example, Helen, of why he needed
He
to fight
won.
back.
Whether or not he comes off that, he won.
No, but I want to
Yeah.
give you an example of why he needed to do this because Mitt Romney is the perfect example. Mitt Romney was a good man. They couldn't find one bad story on him. All they found were these stories of people that he went to school with to say, hey, he always hung out with, he helped the kids that didn't have stuff. He did all kinds of good things. He donated like 10 times as much to charity than anybody else. He quietly did that for people. They couldn't find him cheating on his wife. They couldn't find him not a thing. And they found a way to, but still, they found a way to vilify a good man. The news found a way to vilify it, and because he was a very nice guy, he didn't fight back, he didn't rebut, he didn't do anything. That proves if he in the political world, you have to have some teeth, or else you'll never survive. And Donald just realized the only reason I thought he had a chance, he's the only guy who had the gusto to stand in everybody's face. The perfect example was the first debate when when they said you've called women pigs and this that, he goes, no, only Rosie O'Donnell, and I meant it. That was one of the most honest statements I've ever heard. It was refreshing to hear somebody actually say something true instead of saying, oh no, I back up on my comments and trying to back it up. I'm dropping out of the race because of from resigning. At least he was very forthcoming about a lot of things, and people appreciated that. So
I mean, I don't remember when Obama won, us talking about it over a year.
That's what I mean. I just think that we've all
move
known
on
to just
Yeah,
respect
and we didn't
the
need comfort
president
dogs
and
and
move
crayons
on.
and coloring books.
No, but we
And I'm
had
not saying
czars.
accept whatever he does. You're supposed
It's
to call
called-
out anyone who does wrong.
It's called resist.
Even if it comes to
Yeah.
the church.
Resist.
Don't stand for it if somebody's going against
They're instilling that, and they're the liberal professors, the high school teachers, the middle school teachers, even the elementary school teachers are trying to instill into these children that Donald Trump is bad. This is bad. That's bad. Republicans are bad. Donald Trump is the worst. Their family's the worst. He's a crook. He's a this. He's that. Whatever. They're doing everything under the sun to discredit him, and it's working. Case in point. But I'm just telling you, it's not.
It's working
Well-
on who?
I just pointed at you and I said, case in point.
But how is that? Did I? Hang on a second.
We gotta
Did
close. We gotta close.
I know, but did I say anything about him being a bad president? No, I just said he needs.
Oh,
Okay.
His
okay.
delivery's bad. His
Thank
delivery-
Okay, so he's a good president.
We
I'm not
said that
denying
already.
that. Delivery's bad.
You like
We're
his?
not gonna
You like him
defend
being
every
president?
single thing
I don't have an opinion yet.
To be continued. In closing.
Okay.
in
Well,
closing, I want to thank Rita. and I wanna
Inquiring
thank
minds
Kevin
want to
for
know, and
being
we'll
here.
check in with you later.
I want to thank
Okay.
Kevin. I want to thank Rita for being
Cool.
here. It was a great topic.
Thank you.
There's the event next Thursday at Mother of God from 7 to 9 with the Michigan Right to Life. Right, Rita?
Yeah, Straight to Life in Michigan,
Okay,
7
Right
to
to Life.
9. Called no, I'm like I couldn't.
Junior said, "Keep it going, Omar."
Feed my sheep, and it's called.
Would you like us to end
See
in
My
some
Wings.
kind of prayer? Maybe
Oh,
an
hang
Our
on,
Father?
one more
And
thing.
by the way, we also have Min Sharetha coming up in June. I think it's June 5th. It's also on a Thursday, and it's always at Shenandoah. Beautiful event. We actually have a doctor who's coming in to be our main speaker who performed abortions himself, first and second term abortions. So he actually has now converted and is completely against it. And he's going to talk about his experience of what he saw. And I mean, I don't want to give out too much, but if you ever heard him speak, he's absolutely amazing.
Also, this Thursday, the
And if you want to
Chaldean
find
ladies,
out more, let me know.
message Rita on Facebook.
Wait, who?
Message you.
Oh, I thought he said Chaldean ladies.
No. Yeah, that was something different.
That's what I was like.
This Thursday, Chaldean Ladies of Charity will have their annual gala at Shenandoah. The theme is it's a timeless one this year. Support the organization if you get a chance. It's a great cause. Great
And Omar and Janelle are performing.
Janelle and Ferenc.
Two great musicians.
Thank you very much, Mark.
We love you, Janelle.
Kevin, you want to lead us in a closing prayer?
Sure. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, we thank you for these conversations that we're having. Help us to serve you more faithfully. Please bless us and bless all our viewers, and just help us to be more pro-life and to stand up for you, Jesus, at all times, especially the most weak people. And we pray for our nation. We pray for Donald Trump. We pray for all leaders, and we just ask you to bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Father, Son.
Do you guys always end with a prayer?
No.
Just when
Special
seminarians here.
occasion.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.